Okay. New business. And you'll see it's just listed as Zoom on your agenda. We have had people that has expressed an interest in Zoom. Came about during COVID. Didn't hear much about it until then. We actually began and set up and started doing it in December of 2020. And it was very useful. We had some situations where it was necessary with all the sickness and those type of things. Since things have been relaxed somewhat, and I've had different folks express to me, do we really need to do it? Do we not need to do it? And those type of things. So basically, we have put it on the agenda. We did go back and look. Jennifer and I went back. The council did pass. It was either November or December.
November 2019.
To go forth with providing and making with the necessary equipment of so we could do that during the crisis, during COVID, and those types of things. So, and it was passed by the council to do that. And with the comments I've had and expressions, both for and against. So, since the council voted to do it, I just wanted to put it on the agenda and leave it up to you. So that's where we're at right now.
So we need to make a motion to discuss, correct?
Excuse me?
We need to make a motion to discuss, correct?
Yes, we need a motion in some form or fashion, and then it'll be open for discussion.
Okay, I make that motion.
Motion to
Discuss. Whatever I need to do.
no, we need a motion either to keep it or do away, and then we discuss.
Okay.
Well, actually, we've got a motion. It's in effect. They take a motion to terminate it. If otherwise, we just go on like we are. It's already in effect. That's the order of the council.
And Letitia, on the motion, when I said one way or the other, and then discussion after a motion and second, some form of fashion, or probably just explain, it's in place now. So, Bobby, correct me. Well,
But it's just stay in place unless the council voted to terminate.
Let me make a motion that we terminate this Zoom at our regularly scheduled council meetings. But we do not sell that big screen TV in case this COVID has to come back and bite us. Then we will have all the equipment needed to set up Zoom again.
So we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. If I understood correctly, then you can terminate Zoom unless emergency, basically.
Yes.
Okay. Discussion. Now we're open for discussion.
Great.
Anybody?
So, of course, I'm going to discuss because I'm the only one on Zoom. This seems very targeted. So, the fact There's really absolutely no reason why our city can't keep up with the technology advances that the rest of the world has. We have citywide internet. We've already purchased the equipment needed to record and do Zoom. We have downloaded the Zoom account and we have a trained employee for it. This is very marketable as a city for any future investments, and I think that's something that we should be proud of and brag about instead of going backwards. Park City, Glasgow, and the county have Zoom meetings that they record and post. We have conducted meetings virtually for almost 2 years, and since we have the equipment necessary and in place, there's no reason not to take it, not to have it any longer. There was an argument on April 5th between you and I, Mayor, that stated that only Beverly and I use Zooms, which really isn't enough to cancel. As you know, Beverly and I both travel for work. Instead of being punished for our hard work and our ability to balance both, which I think that we have done well at, we are being punished for that. And to me, there's no other conclusion except for maybe the fact that we're female or there's some spitefulness. But we're also the only two that use emails, so do you want to cancel that too?
And my one response to that, excuse me, just a second, okay? For starters, I didn't take that as an argument. We had a discussion.
That's what I said.
No, you said argument.
I'm arguing that fact.
You said you and I had an argument.
Okay, your defense of saying...
We had a discussion.
Yes. Your disagreement with me, your strong disagreement with me, was that Beverly and I are the only ones that use Zoom, which we are. We are the only ones that use Zoom.
Patricia, I will not sit here and get into a thing, but I know what was said. I know we had a discussion, and some of your statements basically are not true.
That's all you say. So tell me what is true. You can say they're not true, but tell me what is true. Why is the reason that you want to cancel Zoom? Because this is something that you spoke with Bobby almost a month ago, and was only brought to council when I brought it to your attention on April 5th. That council voted it in, so council would have to vote it out. And now it's on the agenda. This is purely your decision, Mayor.
To put it on the agenda.
Yes.
You're right there.
Yes. Thank you for that.
So Dwayne, you and I had a conversation in March talking about Zoom. I expressed to you at that time that I thought Zoom was still beneficial for us to continue to have. I additionally think that it looks a little discriminatory that two women use Zoom. They work out of town at times, and we have a problem with them occasionally being on Zoom for a meeting. That usually lasts 15, 20 minutes and it's over.
Mm-hmm.
And that's I just don't think that's right. I don't think you guys are right in even bringing that up just because you're able to be here. It doesn't mean we can't conduct city business just because we're not in this room with you. Because all we do is go over what's in the agenda and vote on it. Very seldom do we have a discussion on people. Our meetings, on an average, if you go back and look, within 20 to 30 minutes, they're over with. They're done and over with. And we all know that. Then you all have the meetings after the meeting, and I go out the door. But they're usually over with. And I think to take the opportunity away, that if I have to be sitting in Washington, D.C. or in Oregon or wherever, that I can't get on Zoom and conduct business with my city. That's just unreal. That's unheard of in today's world.
It is.
I sit all day long on Microsoft Teams conducting meetings all over the United States. We're looking at each other, there's other people in the room, and we're conducting business. But you're telling me we can't conduct a once a month council meeting if necessary on Zoom. That's just not justifiable.
And I understand where you're coming from, David. The only statement I have on that is, it's y'all's decision. That's why I told you. Until COVID, which was necessary. And that's when it was brought to our attention. But up until that point, this was never an issue.
3 months ago, I had COVID and I was not sent a Zoom link twice. Since it's been in ordinance, I have not sent a Zoom link. Those dates being January 10th and March 14th. I had COVID 3 months ago and was very sick and was refused a Zoom link.
The only thing I can tell you is I will move forward with our that, you know, we should have equal opportunities to conduct the business. It's not like we're trying to get out of it. And we're here when we can be. And I think I've used Zoom twice, and one of the times it didn't work. And I come down here because I had to have a heart procedure done. And my doctor didn't want me around people. So all I heard was we didn't have enough people. So I put on my clothes, I come down here, and we still didn't have enough people. And we're not penalizing anybody else who didn't show up for that meeting.
I can relate to heart problems, believe me.
Well, I know you can. I mean, you and I discussed it that night. I told you why I didn't want to be here in person.
Right.
But it didn't keep me from getting on Zoom. It was had something to do with something that was going on here. But I still came down here.
I would like to, and like I say, I have been approached, both sides. So we look back, Jennifer and I, and the council voted to begin using this. And right now, there seems to be a discussion between Letitia, Beverly, and myself. Hey, I don't have a vote. So if anybody's got any other opinions, we need to hear it.
This Zoom thing is a good thing when it works. If you get a bad connection, once that connection is gone, the meeting is over.
Like your microphones tonight.
People wasn't here then.
And that's another reason.
Yeah, but you're not penalizing that. And the people wasn't here. Nobody was here but you, Steve, and myself. Letitia's plane didn't land, and I think Mike had some health issues, and Kevin had health issues. They wasn't there, and we didn't have a meeting, but nobody was being penalized for that.
I don't think like,
Well,
penalizing anybody.
you definitely are.
But it's not Letitia's fault that her plane was late. It's not my fault. But I think I'm gonna sit down here and wait 30 minutes for a plane to land or for a good connection to be made on Zoom. Keep dreaming. I'm not gonna sit down here and wait 30 minutes while everybody gets everything and all their ducks in a row, because when you run for office, you know you're supposed to be here on one Monday night each month.
Except for when they change it, which has happened. For the city attorney's schedule, for reasons unknown, there's been numerous absences from Kevin Houchins for health issues, the mayor for heart issues, and the city manager, who is also the code enforcer, and the public works director, who is also absent tonight, Robert Smith. We seem to move meetings and cancel meetings and say it's okay for everyone else. No one's asking for anyone to wait 30 minutes for my plane landing, but that is the only meeting I have missed. If I have missed any others, it is because I have been refused a Zoom link, which brings me to another question. Is those two meetings where I was not sent a link, is anything that was voted on actually valid, or does it need to be re-voted on? According to Act 1 KRS 61.
Mr. Richardson?
Well, I've had this discussion today with Letitia. Actually, there wasn't any notification of a Zoom meeting. Therefore, the lack of Zoom participation wouldn't affect the outcome. When we have a Zoom meeting, we're required to notify the public and the press, and that wasn't done. So I don't think, in my opinion, those were Zoom meetings because there wasn't a notification.
So you're required to notify the press, but you didn't. Actually, there was notification for me. If you look back on any of my emails, which I can send to you, I have requested every time after the agenda is sent to me on Thursday to be added to Zoom.
I've answered your question, or someone's question.
You didn't answer my question. You said under your opinion.
Oh, that's my opinion. And my legal opinion. You want to call the KLC, that's what you do every other time you don't agree with what I have to say.
And as I should. And I'm entitled to call KLC. That's what they're there for. Are you trying to bully me to not talk to anyone other than you?
No, ma'am, I'm not.
Then what is the point in that statement?
The first place you go to for legal advice for the city is the city attorney.
Okay.
If you rely on what the city attorney says, you are therefore sheltered from any legal significance if it is wrong. But if you rely on the KLC and they're wrong, they're not, the attorney-client privilege doesn't exist, and you're not protected.
Robbie, I called KLC because I don't feel comfortable asking you questions because you act like you don't want me to say nothing. So I called KLC who will listen to me and who will talk to me and, try to help me answer the questions. So I guess I'm guilty too because that's my job.
I have never failed to talk to you and to
As I said, you made me feel uncomfortable and you act like I shouldn't ask any questions.
well,
And that's my opinion.
let me just tell you that I am to answer the questions of all the council members that call me. And let me tell you publicly that anytime you want to call me, you certainly have the right to, and I will try to answer these questions for you to the best of my ability. So you don't need to be concerned about calling me.
No, I don't bother me. Feels like I should shut up and not say nothing because of your tone. But that's not me.
I want to make one statement. KLC is there, they do a tremendous job. We, in the office, we talk to KLC very, very often. But I will say this, I have never talked to KLC attorneys that they didn't end with, check with your city attorney.
I talked to them many times and they didn't get me to.
Same here.
I'm being honest. They have never.
So am I.
Well, I'm not saying that. No, they probably do tell you that because he directly deals with, any issues that come up with you.
Well, we are in some point, in some way, we're totally off the. I will say this, and I think I made this statement back when we set all and got our TV and everything, and I will stick with this. In our society today, I mean, as all of you know, I am technology illiterate. I push the buttons I have to do, and that's about it. Because we don't like it, but that's neither here nor there. In our society today, it's very important, and it is useful. With that said, I think it's very important from time to time that we could use, especially during COVID, during certain situations. So I'm just going to leave it at that, and I still haven't heard from very many council people. Well, I think
I just want to add one more thing. And we had been emailing, and Bobby, you and I had talked about it for KRS, but I want the rest of the public to know. For KRS 618.26, which is going to be strengthened by House Bill 453, that was put in place a number of years ago to offer the option to video conference in, and that was way before COVID. It is a way for your city to be involved, for your council members to be involved, for people that have special conditions or needs or has jobs. That's a way. So the fact that our city doesn't seem to want to work with these options, including televising meetings or allowing public to speak in our current processes, doesn't seem right to the citizens of our community. And we need to start thinking and voting for what's best for the people. There's absolutely no reason to not have technology just because you may not be technology like literate, or someone has a flip phone, or someone doesn't want to be bothered with it. The rest of the community wants it.
Did I not just say I realize the importance of technology?
I'm not speaking to you, I'm speaking to the council. Sorry.
One thing you mentioned there, Letitia, about the public couldn't speak. All they have to do is call, request to be on the agenda. And that's another thing, and here I've often been working on it, a process, a better process. If a citizen would like to speak, we have to come up with a better process, and I'm working on that. But I don't know of anyone that we have ever denied that I can recall. I won't sit here and say absolutely recall. But, so.
I think Carrie
the
Mears would
motion
make
was
that.
to discontinue the Zoom meetings, except in emergencies.
I know I'm not allowed to talk, but I just want one question. I would like the ones that don't want Zoom to explain why.
I'll tell you why I don't care much about it, because I mean, you voted on the beer.
Can I talk?
I don't care if you vote, no, that's Wayne, I do.
Wayne? Now, as most of y'all know, half of the council is family, but
Don't worry about it, go ahead and say what you gotta say. Don't worry about it.
She's going to, you know
Go ahead and
that.
say it. That's good. I'm going to fix it.
I think that Zoom is a great tool. I agree. If you are elected and there's any way you can be here,
Sure.
that would be, you're expected to be here. But by the same token, so many of our employees of the workforce now has to do Zoom meetings, has to be somewhere else. They have meetings all over, like official has to go out of state. So basically, if you do not do Zoom meetings, the only people that are going to be allowed to be on the city council are either retired people, unemployed people. You cannot, you are totally cutting out people like that work out of town. I have been living in Cave City for the past 40-some years. Just till I bought Replica have I been in Cave City. I couldn't have got here if I'm going to run for city council, which I guarantee you don't want me to. But
Yes, we do.
I could not been here at 5 o'clock on a Monday. You do not allow Zoom meetings when necessary, not when, just because you don't want to put your clothes on and come into the meeting. But this is, we have to get away from, okay, all the meeting people are retired and, pardon me, male. We've got to go with the flow, and Zoom meetings are a very, very helpful thing as long as it works. But if you do not, if you cancel this Zoom meeting and you do not let this go through, you're basically saying we're going to have to be a retired employee or a retired person to be on the council meeting, because workforce is totally different than when we were 20 and 30. Sorry.
No,
Angela?
I've been here a long time. I've been here a long time.
Yes.
I've worked with a lot of people that have had jobs. that had jobs, but always, most of the people always fail to take off 1 hour early a month to be here. We didn't have any, never even heard of them, no one ever had anything. But everybody was here most of the time, but not because of work, and it wasn't here, unless it was an emergency. Or something, but most of the time, most of the people had jobs, and everybody just took off an hour early, just to be here 1 day a month. You don't think so?
No, if I'd been,
I'm not asking you, I'm just saying, people that were here, the elected were here, be here 1 day a month.
well, I disagree with you.
Do what?
I disagree with you.
And
Nowadays, you cannot, you're.
I'm just saying, you cannot be here, you said like, you may not be able to be here, but you don't need to be here, don't run. I
if
mean, if you're not gonna be here, don't run, if you can't be here 1 day a month, 1 day a month,
Don't run.
don't run.
you were absent, you were going to be absent at the last meeting, Mike, and the mayor had to call
I
you.
don't care who you are, what you are. I don't care.
You know, I don't work at a job 40 hours a week
Yeah.
from my home in front of a computer
Mhm.
and a phone, making $70,000 a year, and I don't have to be in person to be effective and to be in a meeting.
Not any higher.
Yes, we are. We can qualify.
Okay,
That's just me.
Angela, there's another thing that I want to comment on. Let's see that. Another thing, you also mentioned the fact that there would be retired people. Now, all I want to say on that is, to my knowledge, Norman had 3 ladies who have actually run. First of all, ladies have got to run if you're gonna have ladies.
Well, I agree.
I mean, Beverly, Letitia, Carol Ford.
I agree.
That's the only 3 that I recall that's even running. But I just wanted to point out, you need to run.
No, you don't believe it.
No, that's an excuse.
Well, I want you to run, you need to have a taste of being an elected official.
I want you to run.
I do too. I do too. I'll vote for you. I will
If
too.
you think it's fun to be, you need to run.
Yeah.
I know it's not.
And I didn't mean to, but I just wanted to point out on the lady part, you know, and there have been very few.
And this Zoom does work
But
good.
I only recall
This
3
Zoom-
that have actually ran.
I agree.
Yeah.
This Zoom-
Okay, we're kind of getting away.
I really understand. But this Zoom works good when it works. I went to school down here on that big screen TV last year numerous times with Kentucky League of Cities. When it works, but when the connection is gone. Let's say we had to go into closed session. Could you be here for closed session when we're gonna talk about real estate?
We've done closed session with Zoom. Everyone steps out.
That's the reason.
Bobby, I have one question for you.
We probably need
And
some
we need to
more,
move on.
Tower.
And I'm guilty, I've gotten off track myself. From a legal aspect, where do we stand, on discontinuing the Zoom?
The statute says you may have it. That doesn't mean, so you either may or may not. That statute that Letitia cited, KRS 861.826, says a public agency may conduct any meetings through video telephone. So it's up to the council.
Any further discussion?
Email to that. Somebody brought that up.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with it now.
Are we gonna do away with email?
It's not in the motion.
Right, well, somebody mentioned it, or we wanna add it to the motion, or what?
Only me and Letitia do that. So y'all probably wanna get rid of it too.
Oh, Lord,
To me, that should need to
But
be,
we're the only 2 using it.
I know it. But I mean, that's your
Well-
opinion.
the way the motion states right now, to answer your question would be no. Any other ideas, discussion? Have a roll call vote.
Every forward, I vote to keep them.
That would be,
No.
See, there you go.
Out of the statement.
I'm gonna abstain.
Kenny Doyle,
I'm gonna vote yes.
Evan
Yes,
Hamilton.
Yes, the yes is to do
A
away.
yes is, the way the motion is stated, a yes is to do away, a no is to keep.
Yes.
Mike Catherine. Patricia Fine.
No. Does that mean the mayor's a tiebreaker?
No, he abstained.
Okay.
You don't have to tie, he abstained.
So it's, under the rules, an abstention is counted with the majority.
Kevin voted.
He wanted.
But anyway, 3-2 with a quorum present is the motion carries.
If I calculated right, we had 4 yes and 2 no. Is that correct?
Oh, you had 3 yes.
3 yes and 1 abstain,
Yeah,
yes.
before Mel voted to go away, we have to think about that.
Mm-hmm.
They can't, I know, they can't say, yes,
Okay. The next item in, Orange Lawn Service for